Jimmy, another Jimmy. James Comey. We go from James Comey to Jimmy Kimmel. Jimmy, you can do better. Oh, no, apparently you can't. You just really suck at apologies, don't you, buddy boy? This is what he said last night. This is just so gross. I mean, you know what he said to begin with, trying to say that the kid that murdered Charlie Kirk was somehow one of the MAGA population. It was blatantly untrue. We knew that. I've told you guys this. Larry Tribe, who's the U.S. constitutional law professor from Harvard, big deal guy, total hack for the Dems. He even had to apologize on Sunday on Twitter because he said that, and it was not true. But what did Jimmy do with his 200 producer strong team editorially looking at all his content? He decided to go on TV on Monday night and say that this was a MAGA guy. And he was joking about it. It was awful, and it was so bad that Disney, of course, had to pull him off the air. But then they realized this thing was getting out of control, and Bob Iger, he might be losing his job. So they put him back on. And what did he say? It was never my intention to make light of the murder of a young man. I don't think there's anything funny about it. No actual apology, though. No actual apology. No, not from Jimmy. America rejected all of this. Let me continue on. Nor was it my intention to blame any specific group for the actions of what was obviously a deeply disturbed individual. To some, my remarks felt either ill-timed or unclear. I get why you're upset. Oh, you think? And then he continues on. That was really the opposite of the point I was trying to make. But I understand that to some, that felt either ill-timed or unclear. Unclear? Ill-timed? You think? I mean, the guy's not even in the ground and you're saying stuff like that? What a loser. Seriously, what a loser. And what a loser Bob Iger and the entire team at Disney and ABC, what losers they are for not having any kind of oversight on this. I mean, I get it. People are mad. Oh, he was canceled. He was pulled off the air. Well, he's back. You know, he's not canceled. He gets to go on the air every night. And by the way, he could go on MSNBC all day long because that's cable. It's not broadcast, and they don't have the same kind of rules. I mean, you can't live in a world in late night TV where you have only one conservative on your show in 3 years. Like, it's no longer funny. You've actually become a propaganda arm for the Democrat Party, like it or not. So he never actually said, I'm sorry. I did not mean to say that. I'm really sorry. I was wrong. He never retracted or backtracked on the original remarks about the kid being MAGA, right? He never did that. He never acknowledged any defamation or direct misleading statements. Instead, he just focused on intention and interpretation. So now people are really mad. Really mad. And this is one grumpy guy. Anyway, I don't know when this video was taken, but I'll tell you, he doesn't have a lot of personality. Check him out in the airport.
Honestly, just leave me alone.
I'm from New York, man.
I don't care.
How did Obama do?
Listen, I'm not interested in this. How many times do I have to tell you?
You don't tell me that. You know.
Grumpy cat. Okay, here's the thing. Hardly anybody even took the show. Like 20% of the stations were like, we don't want you. We don't want your brand of comedy. So you had Sinclair, you had Nexstar saying, we're not taking it. We'll put something else on instead. He refused to apologize. I mean, he had some complimentary things to say about Erica Kirk, but there was no apology. He said it was just mischaracterized. You know what? I'll tell you, Charlie's producer wasn't happy about this. Andrew Colvett came out and said, yes, Jimmy got emotional. So what? He's emotional for himself because he almost torched his entire career. You know what, Andrew? I'm going to go further. I think he did torch his career. I think he's coming up on his contract and they're not going to continue him because guess what? The ratings aren't there. Maybe he got a bump for one night. People are saying, oh, you know, everybody watched this on YouTube and he did get a bump from one night. I have friends that watched it last night just to see what he would say. I watched it on YouTube to see what he would say. But you know what? I'm not watching again. My friends aren't watching again. Nobody's watching again because we were disgusted by the non-apology. So sure, he's crying his eyes out because he almost lost his multi-million-dollar contract. But I'll tell you, he is going to lose it. Maybe if he's good enough, he could come over here and try and compete on YouTube. But you know what? He's not good enough. I don't think that would work. I really don't. In a live show, He claims he's live. I think he tapes it in the afternoon. That's what you call as live. Anyway, Kimmel is an unrepentant liar who tried to blame Charlie's assassination on the part of the country that just spent the last 2 weeks praying and holding vigils. What he's really saying is that he thinks it's fair game to slander conservatives. He would rather advance his own political and cultural agenda than confront the truth. The truth is that his own side has been fanning the flames of political assassination for years. The truth is that someone on the left picked up a gun and murdered someone because they didn't think that Charlie had the right to advocate for peaceful debate. And then he got up there and refused to apologize. I'll tell you, nobody's taking it. I'm not taking it. Andrew's not taking it. Rob Schneider's not taking it. He wrote a letter. He put this out on Twitter. He said, you lied again. You lied again. You are not making light of Mr. Kirk's death. The suspension you justly received last week was falsely accusing MAGA and Republicans, one of their own. Yeah, that's what you said, Jimmy, for the murder of our friend Charlie Kirk, when in fact it was just another in the long line of murderous leftist lunatics, okay, who killed Charlie. The left rhetoric is getting dangerous. I told you guys, Charlie, as far back as 2018, told me live on the air, and I was one of the first people to put him on. I mean, some 10 years ago. The whole thing is so surreal. I mean, I still can't even totally believe it. But he was telling me back in 18, it was getting scary. It was getting bad. The left, because of this Antifa movement, was getting more and more disturbed and more dangerous. And look, I mean, after his death, did we see riots in the streets? No, we had vigils. We had prayer. We had people holding hands. Did you see the video of Liberty University? They're singing Amazing Grace. I mean, it was just beautiful to see, but this is people coming together, trying to comfort each other in a time of need, not taking to the streets and lighting things on fire. Thank you very much. But listen, I'm going to tell you this. He's going to get a one-day rating surge, but then it's going away because look at the big headline over my shoulder here. He's down 72% in the last 10 years. Nobody's watching him. Nobody cares about him. And when his contract is up, he's going to get dumped because he stinks.
What you don't like be grounds for losing a broadcast license?
Well, I think when a network is dishonest, certainly if they are dishonest because they give you 97% bad publicity or whatever it is, some ridiculous number, yeah, I would say that would be grounds. Yeah.
And you know what else? Iger's in trouble. Bob Iger, because you can't sit there, Jimmy, and play the victim all day long. I mean, maybe it's popular with Rachel Maddow. Again, your final destination being MSNBC. Maybe it works there, but it doesn't work with the rest of the country. Because while you cry your eyes out and say, I'm the victim, and they're cutting down on my free speech, which, technically speaking, you don't fully, totally, let's just be clear on this. You have to be even-handed when you're in broadcast. I've explained this to you guys all week, right? I worked in broadcast, I've worked in cable, now I work over here. There are different rules. When you're on broadcast television, and this goes all the way back to the 1933 or 34 Communications Act, you have a responsibility to your community. So you can't just say things like, oh, this was a MAGA kid, and think it's funny and make a joke like that. That's not being responsible to your community, the local communities which you are there to serve on broadcast airwaves. Now, cable, you don't have that commitment. So again, Greg Gutfeld can say whatever he wants, and he's not going to be held to the same standard as one of the late night comedians or, say, the hosts of The View, which actually comes under the ABC News Department. Whole other situation. By the way, those ladies should be really frightened for their jobs. But this is the reality of where we are, okay? So it's a different set of rules. You can't have a situation where, for 3 whole years you don't bother to put on a single conservative? You have become an arm of the Democrat Party, and that's not what you're there to be. You can go do it on cable, you can go do it on streaming, but you can't do it on network TV. Here's a conservative, Peter Majer, talking on CNN and getting all kinds of pushback, of course, on CNN, but pointing out exactly what I'm saying. In other words, Jimmy can still do his show. He gets to live literally another day. And whether he gets fired from ABC and has to do a podcast, God forbid, trust me, it's better, but I'm not sure his would be very good. Or whether he goes to MSNBC, he has that opportunity. Something Charlie does not.
Was silenced. Nobody's silenced. We're not.
Jimmy Kimmel was taken off the air. You have universities afraid to speak their mind. You have research being completely
we talk
defunded.
About the blue and the red division. Every single one of the reasons why the FCC has a role is because these are broadcast stations with a monopoly that was granted by the government.
Do you feel good about?
No, and I would hate it if the federal government came in and said, you may not say that. The reason why Jimmy Kimmel got himself into the first place is he was repeating a lie believed by 1 in 3 Democrats that the person who assassinated Charlie Kirk
he did not
had
say that.
right of center beliefs.
He did not say that.
We can parse his verbiage all day long. If he comes out and says, listen, that was not what I was trying to say, thank you. Fantastic. I appreciate that, Mr. Kimmel. The problem is that is believed. And we have spent way more time treating Jimmy Kimmel as a victim than the person who was shot and killed in front of their wife and children.
Let me ask you a question. If Joe Biden took down a prominent right-wing personality on TV for what he or she said, would you endorse that?
You're hypothetical if the Biden administration went and jawboned, let's say, social media platforms.
I'm talking about a similar allegory of someone on TV
hundreds of conservatives.
Will you answer my question?
No, that is literally what the administration that you served did. Google just released
a broadcast
all of
TV
the
host
components.
taken down for words that they say or intimidated on. I will not approve your merger.
In the history of the
result.
FCC, they have done that plenty of times on the right.
Was the FCC chair saying we're going to do this the easy way or the hard way, like a mobster?
Your administration
were they
deplatformed and kicked off of social media? You want to talk about actually silencing? Having any single public outlet that you have?
I know.
I lived it. To broadcast something, right? Jimmy Kimmel could go on MSNBC tomorrow. He's going back on ABC tonight. This man has not been silenced.
No.
Charlie Kirk's been silenced because he's dead.
I mean, think about that. Look, I lived through it. I was silenced. I'm so happy to be here now. I'm not going to be silenced. You know, I'm just going to keep talking and talking and talking. And I have a bad habit of saying exactly what I think, regardless. Well, I'm sensitive. Let me be clear on that. I may say exactly what I think, but I actually have a ton of empathy for people, which clearly Jimmy does not, clearly does not. And I'll tell you, Bob Iger, he's going to lose his job, I think, over this. I mean, look at what a mess the company is. The stock price is a disaster. It went from 123 to around 113, and it's lost so much. Well, the stock market's doubled in the last 5 years. So it's dead money, seriously dead money. You're losing money because of inflation. You're losing money because you could have just invested in the S&P instead of Disney. Investors are mad. There are shareholder lawsuits. There are parents that are mad about the ridiculous movies they keep putting out. There are bad movies and that they can come up with only sequels. They're losing money. Think about Snow White, the disaster that was. And now you've got Disney actually in the middle of this NFL ESPN deal, which I think could go pretty darn sideways. And if Bob loses that, hey, Bob and Jimmy, bye-bye to both of you. Okay, Bob Iger, I've said this before. You're getting a little too old for the job anyway. I'm not an ageist, but really and truly, you've got 2 young kids. You've got a beautiful wife. Go spend some time with them. Worry about Disney less because you're not doing a good job. You never should have had an environment where everybody thinks they talk about diversity all the time. DEI, DEI, DEI. They don't have any diversity of thought over there. Everybody thinks exactly the same, unless you have 200 producers that think it's perfectly fine for Jimmy Kimmel to say what he said. And they have producers that think it's perfectly fine for him to go on air and not actually apologize. Wow. Okay, that's no diversity, which tells me it's bad management, terrible management, which means the CEO, the buck stops with you and your company is suffering and your stock price is suffering and you should go. You know who else knows this? Michael Eisner. He's the former CEO of Disney. He's okay, see you later, buddy. I mean, come on. And it's from the opposite side. I mean, that's what's fascinating about this. The right is mad, obviously, because of the Charlie Kirk comments, and the left is mad because they're wait, what? Why would you pull Jimmy? And so Michael Eisner's yeah, you douche. You just suck. You can't do the job. I'm sorry. I shouldn't say those words. But Iger is the same guy who pulled all the advertising money off of X once Elon Musk bought it. Remember that? So we don't need to feel too bad for Bob Iger with his zillions of dollars there in LA. There's a lot of other things he could and should be doing right now, but running Disney is not one of them. Nelson Peltz tried to tell him. Nelson Peltz, who came in and tried to orchestrate some kind of takeover, hostile takeover of Disney, and Bob wouldn't have it. So now he's got Brendan Carr to deal with. And Brendan Carr, he said some pretty aggressive stuff. Very, very aggressive stuff. So now the left's like, oh, you folded. So now there's a boycott from the left. I talked to somebody this morning who told me, can you believe this? I just got a request or a notice, she said, from her Disney Hulu subscription saying they were going up. She thought it was $99. They're increasing the price at a time like this. And she's like, I'm really mad at them because I think he folded. He shouldn't have taken Kimmel off the air. Other people are mad because Kimmel shouldn't have said what Kimmel said. So you're going to raise prices right now? Not smart, not good business. Everybody's mad, from Michael Eisner to John Oliver to the FCC head. It's looking bad, really bad. Good to see you, Gary, back here. Gary's metal detecting, offering a point of view as well. It's good to see. We have so many regulars here on the show, and I appreciate it. I'm just trying to pull this up. When you see me looking over to the side, it's because this is live, baby. This is live, and I'm bringing up the elements, and I'm bringing up your comments all in real time. Don Baca, good to see you here again. Don will be very happy. We got lots of likes. Let's get it to 3,000. Can we get it to 3,000? I feel like an auctioneer. Gary Mello Detection saying, basically, I think you're commenting, if I interpret this correctly, Gary, on how stupid Jimmy Kimmel is. And he is really stupid. Unless, of course, you're a little delayed in the broadcast and you're talking about how stupid James Comey and one Letitia James are. And that for sure is the truth. Absolutely the truth. Look, they need a new CEO. You're not going to get Michael Eisner back. You're not going to get Bob Chapek back. I don't think Dana Walden can possibly do this because she's part of the problem, right? She's part of the problem. She's one of the ones dealing with this. And now they really are looking at the possibility of losing their FCC licenses because they've been so out of whack. If I were them, here's what I would do. I would start switching up my producers. I'd start switching up my talent. I'd start making sure that I had a variety of viewpoints on something like The View. I'd make sure I had a variety of guests on something like Jimmy Kimmel Live. And I would make sure my news division knew what end was up, shall we say, so that they were going right down the middle of the road like they used to back in the old days, pre-2015. After 2015, it was suddenly like everybody had a license to just go after Trump. TDS on steroids. I mean, heck, you had the former FBI head leading the whole thing, apparently. James Comey, those are the accusations. This is what he's going to be indicted for, and it's coming momentarily. Wow. Okay. Wow. Again, I'm blown away by this. One single right-leaning guest in 3 years. Way to go, Jimmy. Way to go, Disney. It's all coming back to bite you in fannies, you know what. Okay. Quick shout out. If you're ever interested in investing in Disney, I think my short answer would be no. But we did write a piece on it. The only thing they got going for it is the cruise business. And even that, I'm going to tell you, in recent months, recent years, has actually stumbled a lot too. But we got lots of great investment ideas for you that have done extraordinarily well. I encourage you to go over to 76 Research, my company, 76research.com. It's my financial, I have a background in finance. Some of you know that, some of you don't, but was always a business reporter until somehow politics started bleeding into business because what do you know? We have a business person as, I want to say, the CEO of the country. It's like I just can't help, right? But as our executive, our chief executive. So take a look at 76 Research. Use code word dollar. My gift to you, DOLLAR.